The Seattle Seahawks were the Super Bowl champions in the 2025 NFL season, and everything went right for this team. Sam Darnold was a dream free agent signing. The defense played at an unreal level. The coordinators were awesome. But this is a Seahawks team that now has gotten to the top of the mountain, but it still feels like a lot of people are doubting this team and don't believe that they have a chance to get back to the Super Bowl. And in today's video, we're going to talk about this Seahawks roster, the moves that they made, and if they have what it takes to go back to back as Super Bowl champions. But I'm really excited about this one. We've got one more team preview after the Seahawks one, and I'm excited to talk about it. But if you guys do enjoy these NFL previews, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. We're getting close to 11,000 subscribers. But let's talk about this Seahawks roster, and let's start with the coaching staff, where Mike Macdonald has officially planted himself as, I think, without a doubt, the best defensive coach in the league and a top 5 overall head coach in the league. What he was able to do with this Seattle defense is phenomenal, and you already are starting to see, and it's been happening for a few years at this point, but how much teams are trying to replicate the success that Mike Macdonald has had. He was one of the best coaching candidates available when he became on the market because everyone was trying to get part of this defense and trying to do what Mike Macdonald has really been able to get the most out of. And in Seattle, it works. There's a lot of different things that they're going to do well. They're going to play a lot of primary zone coverage, but they just bring a lot of unique blitzes, two high shells where you're going to see a split safety structure. They're going to bring a ton of stunts and loops. They're going to play a safety in that slot corner role. And it's why you've seen so many of these safeties really emerge. Kyle Hamilton was great in this scheme. Derwin James. Here in Seattle, it's nickemmanwori, who has been phenomenal. They don't blitz a ton, but when they do blitz, it's effective. They are multiple. They are constantly kind of have these amoeba fronts, and they're able to adjust and bring pressure. And the way that it is taught is very simplistic for the defensive players to try and memorize what they're doing. There's not really anything bad to say about Mike Macdonald as a head coach at this point. He clearly is the best defensive coach in the NFL, in my opinion. He has created a whole new wave. He's already developing this great coaching tree beneath him. But on top of it, he is a coach that now has a Super Bowl title, and he has proven that he can win a Super Bowl. So the sky's the limit. He's still, I believe, entering year 3 as the head coach, maybe year 4 here. He's been phenomenal, and don't have a negative thing to say about Mike Macdonald as the head coach. But there are going to be some question marks, particularly around the offensive coordinator. Aiden Durd is the defensive coordinator. If things go really well here in Seattle, he could get poached maybe as a head coach candidate. I'm not expecting that right now. But Brian Fleury comes in as the offensive coordinator. Now, this is fascinating, and there are a handful of areas with the Seahawks team that I do worry about, and the loss of Clint Kubiak is one of them. I think Clint Kubiak was one of the best offensive coordinators in the league, and I think he's going to do really good things in Vegas. But you bring in Brian Fleury from the San Francisco 49ers, who's kind of done a little bit of everything. He's been started as a defensive quality control coach, both in Cleveland and in Buffalo, but he ends up becoming the Niners tight ends coach in 2022 and then the run game coordinator in 2025. This is his first real opportunity to become a head play caller. But here's the thing. There's not going to be much of a transition, I don't think, because Brian Fleury comes from that Kyle Shanahan wide zone attack. It's very similar to what we saw Clint Kubiak run last year. Can he be as creative as Clint Kubiak? Can he just know what to dial up at the right times? Is he going to be able to get these guys going? It is one of the biggest question marks surrounding this team right now because we haven't seen Brian Fleury as the offensive coordinator, but a former quarterback, a guy that has been coaching since 2003 at various levels. I think there are things to certainly get excited about, and I wouldn't be shocked at all if this ends up working out. but it is still a relative unknown, and it rounds out a very good coaching staff. Obviously, you've got Mike Macdonald, one of the best coaches in the league, but there are some really fun pieces here in terms of the coordinators that still have some room to continue to grow. But let's go and talk about this roster, where there is a lot to really discuss about this team. And it starts at the quarterback position with Sam Darnold. And I've always been a Sam Darnold believer. I have a tweet from when he signed with the Vikings, and I was like, hey, I think this is going to work for Sam Darnold. He played really good in that one game in San Francisco where you're like, okay, this guy's got it. In the last 2 years, he's been phenomenal. And now Sam Darnold, a player that after his first 5 years in the league, everyone kind of wrote off as a bust. And I think Sam Darnold has done a phenomenal job of flipping the narrative on his career. And I think a couple of things have really changed for Sam Darnold. One, I think he's really found an offense that's able to maximize his strengths. He is really good at operating out of the play action, shotgun. He's a pretty high-level processor for the most part. I think he reads the field well. And I think that's the big thing is you look at those Jets offenses and the Panthers offenses, he wasn't given an opportunity to succeed. There were no good pass catchers. There really weren't any good, consistent play callers there. As soon as he gets to San Francisco and Minnesota, where you've got Kevin O'Connell, you've got Kyle Shanahan, you get Clint Kubiak last year, all of a sudden you start to see the guy that was taken with the 3rd overall pick. But I think the other thing that Sam Darnold has really improved at is he's just gotten more accurate. And that's just the best way to put it. He has gotten a lot better at completing high percentage passes. I think the processing has improved for him, and it's helped this team and Minnesota as well really be able to tap into him and trust him as a franchise quarterback. He's been able to get the ball out of his hands quickly. He's been really good under pressure for the most part. Just a 15% pressure to sack rate. That is a really, really good number for a quarterback, especially for an offensive line, and that still does have some concerns. I think Sam Darnold is awesome. Now, what you would want to see from Sam Darnold is you'd like to see the turnover-worthy plays and interceptions come down a little bit. Had 14 interceptions last season. Now, he played some of the best ball down the stretch, was unbelievable in the NFC Championship game against the Rams. But he had a 4-interception game earlier in the season against the Rams. He had another 2-interception game against the Rams, 2 picks against Pittsburgh. Can he do a better job of taking care of the football and maybe getting those interceptions down into the single digits? If he can do that, I think that he not only, I think he solidified himself as a franchise quarterback, and I feel really confident in saying that. But if Sam Darnold can fix the interceptions problem as well, he not only do I think he's a franchise quarterback, I think you could get in the MVP race and potentially be an undisputed top 10 quarterback. I'd probably have Darnold looking between that 11 to 13 range right now. But I mean, he's still just 29 years old and is playing at a very high level right now. So I really like Sam Darnold. You've got Drew Lock, who, when he's had to play here, hasn't been a complete liability. I don't hate him as a backup. Jalen Milroe is who you're hoping can emerge here as the long-term backup quarterback. He's a guy with crazy traits coming out of Alabama, but I'm not really fully expecting it, if I'm being completely honest. Overall, though, a very good quarterback in Sam Darnold, and a guy that has proven you can go win a Super Bowl with Sam Darnold as your starter. But we talked about it. There are pockets of this team that I do worry about, and unfortunately, the running game is one of them. And this is where I do just kind of have to back up my draft takes here. This team drafted Jadarian Price in the first round. Now, they did not bring back they didn't bring back Kenneth Walker, who was really good for them, especially in the playoffs, was the Super Bowl MVP. There's a lot to like. I never was a big Jadarian Price fan in this draft class. I know a lot of people saw him as a first-round running back. I know that he was a guy that a lot of people liked. He was the RB2 at Notre Dame behind Jeremiah Love. And I did not have a top 50 grade on Jadarian Price. They took him at the back end of the first round. Jadarian Price on my big board was the number 74 overall player there are things to like. I think he's really explosive. He's got speed. He's got good contact balance, but reminds me a little bit of Travion Henderson last year, minus the blocking. And Travion Henderson, like, yeah, he gave the Patriots some big plays, but he had some pretty poor vision, and fumbles were a big issue for Jadarian Price. He also didn't really impact the game as much as you wanted to see as a receiving entity. I'm a little concerned about Jadarian Price. Now, I am fully expecting to be wrong here. I would not be shocked at all if he ends up coming out and having a really good rookie season. But I'm just telling you guys what I saw watching the tape with Jadarian Price, and I saw a second to third round running back that was overdrafted because it was a bad running back class. And if he doesn't really hit here, I don't love a lot of this. Like, Zach Charbonnet is here. I don't really know that you're going to see a lot of him. He's on IR, or at least at the time of recording this. He got hurt in the playoffs. Not really sure we're going to see him. George Holani is here, who I did like once upon a time coming out of Boise State, kind of their running back before Ashton Genty. But he's gotten just 30 carries in his career for 93 yards. So I don't really know how excited I should be about George Holani. Emmanuel Wilson is here. He's played a little bit for the Packers, but nothing that I feel overly excited about there. You've got Jacardia Wright, who was a Missouri State undrafted free agent. This could be what potentially holds back this Seahawks offense from reaching the heights that they reached last year, because Kenneth Walker was the engine of this offense down the stretch and was a big part of the reason why they were able to go win the Super Bowl. You let him walk, and I don't think they did a good enough job replacing that. So we'll see what happens with Jadarian Price. That is an area that I am concerned about. But let's talk about the rest of this offense, where there are some really exciting things to talk about. And it starts with the Offensive Player of the Year here, and that is Jaxon Smith-Njigba. What a season from JSN, a player that I always loved coming out of Ohio State. And even me, as big of a Jaxon Smith-Njigba fan as I was, I never saw this for JSN, where he has almost 2,000 yards receiving, including the playoffs. He's 8 yards shy of that. Just an unbelievable season where he has really proven that, like, you can. There were a lot of discussions with JSN coming out about he's a little bit smaller, he's not the most physical guy, and you're probably going to have to play him at the slot. He's not a great athlete. And he's kind of silenced all of that. He averaged a ridiculous 3.42 yards per route run. He had just 4 drops on the season on 182 targets. The reason Jaxon Smith-Njigba is so impressive, it's not because he's a superstar athlete. He just gets it. And I know that's a very cop-out answer here, but he is a receiver that is one of the best route runners in the NFL. He separates at an extremely high rate. He knows how to plant his foot and create separation at all 3 levels. He can challenge vertically. He can make plays after the catch, where he was really dynamic, and he can win tough catches. He had a 55% contested catch rate. Look, the number 1 receiver in the league is very much a debate right now. I think Jamar Chase probably has that crown, but Jaxon Smith-Njigba, Puka Nacua, Justin Jefferson, like, all of those guys are in a very similar mix. And if you told me you thought JSN was the best receiver in the NFL, it'd be hard to disagree with you, especially after the season he just had, where I still think he can get better. Like, I really, really like Jaxon Smith-Njigba. That is your number 1 here. And the rest of this group is really solid as well. You made the midseason trade for Rashid Shaheed, which I don't think paid as much dividends for this team as they were expecting. He is a really good, like, special teams demon. I believe he had that return against Kansas City or against San Francisco. Yeah, he had the touchdown return for the touchdown on the first play of the game in the divisional round. But Rashid Shaheed is going to play a valuable role here as that vertical receiver. He's got really good speed. He's awesome after the catch. A little bit smaller at 180 pounds, but he has consistently been one of the better true vertical threats in the NFL. I think he fits very nicely with what you want to do here. You've got Cooper Kupp as your wide receiver 3, who I still think could give you some really good production. Like, I like Cooper Kupp, played really well for this team last year, 750 yards, 3 touchdowns. He's not the Cooper Kupp that had almost 2,500 yards in 2021. He's not the same player. He's definitely regressed and slowed down, but very similar player to Jaxon Smith-Njigba in that you can play him in the slot. You can kind of move him around your formation. He's going to win tough catches, and he's a really good route runner because he's got clean footwork. He knows how to sell his routes, and he still gives this team a really important role there. So I like Cooper Kupp here. Obviously, he's going to be just turned 33 years old, so he's not going to be able to do it forever, but he's a valuable piece here. They still have some really interesting depth. Like Jake Bobo is here, a friend of the show here, a good player. I mean, he gets on the field he's a very specialized player. He's 206 pounds, had a touchdown in the divisional round. I like him for what his role is. He's a decent blocker, doesn't see the field a ton. Who I think will emerge here as the starter by the end of the year is Torrey Horton, who was having a really strong start to the season for the Seahawks. And in his final game, which was week 9 against Washington, he had 2 touchdowns. He has size, speed. He's a good route runner. He ultimately got hurt and missed the second half of this team's season, but on 22 targets had 161 yards and 5 touchdowns. I loved Torrey Horton coming out of Colorado State. I think he could definitely play a role here. Outside of that, I don't know that many of these other guys will make the team. You draft Emmanuel Henderson out of Kansas, probably a special team type of player. You have Ricky White here as well. Again, special teams depth. I wouldn't be shocked if they just keep 5 receivers on the roster. The tight end room is interesting, and this is a very fascinating group because the Seahawks were a team that did play a lot of 12 personnel last year. They were 8th in the NFL in 12 personnel, and they even got on the field in some 13 personnel, 12th in the league in 13 personnel. So they wanted to play with a lot more size on the line of scrimmage. And I think ajbarner is one of the most underrated players in the NFL. Ajbarner does not get a lot of the praise that I think he should because he doesn't have the counting stats. He had just 586 yards and 7 touchdowns on the year, but on the targets he got was incredibly efficient. Ajbarner he's not a great athlete, but he's got really strong hands, just a 3% drop rate. He wins tough catches. And on top of that, Ajbarner is one of the best blocking tight ends in the NFL, both as a run blocker and as a pass protector. I think he's phenomenal. You can play him on the line of scrimmage. Ajbarner is a player I'm targeting in fantasy football this year because I think the usage will be there for him. I think they're going to find ways to just get him the ball because he is a good player when he's got the football in his hands. I think he can definitely make a big name for himself here. And I really like what he brings to this team. You have Eric Saubert here as well, who is going to be a similar type of player for this team. They played him a little bit last season, didn't play a ton, more of a blocking specialist at 253 pounds. What you're hoping for as a Seahawks fan is that second round pick, Elijah Arroyo, can really step up. They drafted him last year in the second round. I thought it was early for Elijah Arroyo, and he didn't see the field a lot. I don't want to say he was bad, but just was not on the field as much as I think they were hoping he was going to be. Was used very sparingly for this team. But now there's a real path, I think, for him to get some playing time. He played just 334 offensive snaps last year, had 179 yards, had a touchdown, didn't drop the ball, which you like to see, but just a very good athlete, a guy that's going to be that big slot, receiving entity tight end. Not a great blocker, but does give some decent effort. I think he will definitely be one of the breakout players on this team. You got Nick Vannett here, who's a tight end 4, but I think it's really going to be Barner, Saubert, and Arroyo, who are going to be the names to keep an eye on. It's a really good group of weapons. I mean, a really balanced group. All of these guys have different roles that I think are really important for this team. And when you don't have a great run game, in my opinion, I do feel really confident about what the rest of this group looks like. But let's talk about the offensive line really quickly, where this is a this is still a work in progress, I would say. I think there are signs of, yes, this is a group that's gotten better and you feel pretty good about, but it's not perfect. I will say, I think Charles Cross is one of the most underrated players in the NFL, like not just tackles, but players. I don't see anybody talk about Charles Cross as one of the top 10 left tackles in the league, but I think he deserves to be in that conversation. He's coming off the best pass blocking season of his career, where he allowed a career low in pressures in just 28, allowed a career low in sacks in just 2, had a 97.1 pass blocking efficiency rating per PFF, had a career low in penalties, and was a really big part for this team in the playoffs. He's a good run blocker. He's got athleticism. He's still just 25 years old. He'll be 26 in November, and he's a really good pass protector. I don't have a lot of negative things to say about Charles Cross as an offensive lineman. I had some up and down moments as a run blocker, struggled against Atlanta. There are things that he can clean up, but you feel really good about him at that left tackle spot. And then you got Gray Zabel as your left guard. Gray Zabel as a rookie guard was everything you wanted to see. Yeah, the pass blocking probably needs a little bit of work, but as the season progressed, he really started to get comfortable, particularly in the run game. I thought he was really impactful. He was coming from the FCS level. He's a guy that took his losses in the playoffs. Like, there's no doubt about it. He allowed 5 pressures against the Patriots in the Super Bowl. He had some bad moments as a pass protector. The Rams, he gave up multiple pressures in every game against the Rams, gave up some pressures against the Texans, but he allowed just 2 sacks. I still think the arrow's pointing up. He's a younger offensive lineman that I do think got better as the year went on, and he's one of their best run blockers. So you feel good about that. The rest of this line's interesting. You've got Jalen Sundell as the center. I don't love Jalen Sundell. I would have absolutely looked to try to replace him. I think he's one of the weak parts of this line. Another North Dakota State guy, a guy that was an undrafted free agent for them in 2024. He was okay, a good run blocker, just nothing spectacular. I don't think he's got crazy good traits. I don't think he's this elite pass protector. Missed some time throughout the season. He played in about 73% of their snaps. That's what they have at center. I would have targeted somebody else, a guy that, you could give you another name in the building. At right guard, you've got Anthony Bradford, who you could argue either Sundell or Bradford are the weak link. Bradford would probably be the answer. Bradford has never been good here. Seahawks fans have been clamoring to get him out of the building forever. Really poor pass protector. Not a great run blocker. He's just not a good athlete. He's got size, but can't really connect at the second level. And then you've got Abraham Lucas, who by some miracle played 100% of this team's snaps last year. Abraham Lucas, when he's on the field, is a really solid right tackle. I don't think you've got a lot of question marks about him when he plays. Really efficient pass blocker. He's a great athlete, can run block really well. He's tall, so he can let some guys get under his pads, but I like him a lot as your right tackle. He missed a significant amount of time in 2023, 2024. There were talks about, I believe there were some degenerative ACL concerns with him. I could be wrong on that. But he played every game for this team and was really good, especially in the playoffs, where he allowed just 2 pressures in the 3 combined playoff games. So that's your starters. Obviously, the interior you don't love. You don't love Anthony Bradford. In terms of depth here, you would like some better depth. I think the interior depth has upside. You've got Christian Haynes, who I loved coming out of UConn. I thought this guy was going to be really, really good. And unfortunately, it just hasn't happened for him. He has not been able to catch up to NFL speed coming up from UConn. He had some flashes as a pass protector in the 13 snaps he played, but just not done anything as a run blocker when he's been on the field. Olu Oluwatimi is the backup center here. I liked him a lot coming out of Michigan. Another guy that, when he's been on the field, hasn't been a total liability, kind of the opposite of Christian Haynes. He's not been good as a pass protector at all. Not a horrible run blocker for you. You got some upside there. You draft Bo Stevens out of Iowa. Maybe there's some upside there. You got Logan Brown and Bryce Cabledew, a couple of Kansas offensive linemen from a couple of years ago that I didn't hate. Josh Jones is here as your swing tackle. It's a fine group. Like I said, I still think that this is an offensive line that is a work in progress, but you feel a lot better about where it is now than where it has been in previous years. So I like this team a lot. I think there's a lot of upside with this offense. And if this offense can be kind of where they were last year, which wasn't an elite offense, I think the offense started off pretty hot. But as the season went on, like you really saw like some struggle down the stretch, but they were still able to win games. They ranked the 9th as an offense. If you rank between 9th and 15th and your defense plays like it did last year, you're going to be able to win games because this Seahawks defense was first in every category. First in defensive DVOA, first against the pass, first against the run. They are an incredible defense that's got such a multiple front. And I think that's the thing that sticks out to me the most. Right now, they're kind of listed as kind of a base 4-3. They've got a lot more hand in the dirt type edge rushers that we'll talk about, but they will mix it up. This is a fascinating group. Uchenna Nwosu's listed as a linebacker here. We'll see. We'll talk about this here in a little bit, but I do love what this defense has on the interior. I think this is the best interior duo in the NFL. The Patriots have a strong case. They've got a couple of absolute monsters, but I don't think enough people really know how good this Seahawks front is with Leonard Williams and Byron Murphy. We'll start with Leonard Williams, the kind of veteran here in the building who has been absolutely awesome since they traded for him for the Giants. I remember when that trade happened, a lot of people were like, really? We're giving up that much for Leonard Williams? He's been awesome. Not only do I think he's a good pass rusher, he's given them between 5.5 to 7 sacks a year. And the pass rushing production did come down a little bit in 2025, but he's just takes up so much space. He's a guy that, because they want to play with these kind of multiple fronts, he's 302 pounds, but a really good athlete. So you can kind of move him around your formation. He can play over the tackle at times where he played 296 snaps over the tackle, can play in the B gap. You can move him around your formation. And he's an awesome edge setter in the run game. I love what he brings in that phase. He's a good pass rusher, good run defender. And then you got Byron Murphy running alongside him. And Byron Murphy is one of my biggest misses in recent drafts. I was not the biggest fan of Byron Murphy. I just didn't really see a consistent player. And in my defense, like, he does still need to really take another step, I think. But he was really good for this team. And if you can imagine Byron Murphy taking another leap, that's terrifying for opposing offensive lines if Leonard Williams can continue to play at the level he's been at and Byron Murphy can take a step up, because he's a strong tackler. He's a strong pass rusher. This is a guy that just has incredible core strength and balance. He's able to defend the run well. He's able to win as a one-on-one pass rusher. He's still 23 years old. He'll be 24 at the start of the season. The sky's the limit for Byron Murphy. I really am very high on what he can bring to this team. And in terms of defensive tackle depth, they've got a lot of guys that intrigue me. Riley Mills is fascinating to me. He got on the field a little bit in the Super Bowl, made some plays, an undersized kind of gap shooting interior defensive line presence who didn't play a lot in the regular season, just 28 total snaps. Got on the field in the playoffs and I thought looked the part. He was a really interesting player coming out of Notre Dame because he was really explosive. But he had 2 pressures and a sack in the Super Bowl in just 34 snaps. You feel decent about what his upside might look like. You have Jaron Reed here, who has been on this team for a while, who is more of that early down, like heavy hand in the dirt, true nose tackle. He is 307 pounds, will take up a lot more space up front to kind of free up these quicker, more athletic rushers. You also have Devon Eastern, who this team drafted in the 7th round, who profiles as a decent nose tackle. There's a lot to get pretty excited about. So I like the interior group. The edge room is fascinating. I think it's a good edge room. I know this team just feels like they're missing like two pieces in the edge room to me. I do think losing Boye Mafe will hurt this team. You've got Uchenna Nwosu, who is a really solid pass rushing entity. 6'2", 251, another guy that he finally got on the field for this team. He missed some time in 2023 and 2024, but had a 12% pressure rate, 7 sacks. He's got some power, some bend, and can win as a pass rusher on the outside. So Uchenna Nwosu's here. He played 52% of their snaps. They kind of rotate him on and off the field. You got DeMarcus Lawrence here, who announced this will be his final season in the NFL. When he was on the field for this team, again, they rotated these guys a lot. DeMarcus Lawrence played 57% of their snaps, had a 13% pressure rate, 6 sacks, which was the highest sack number he's had since 2022, had the most pressures he's had since 2019. He was really good he's 34 years old, but a guy that has always been a really disruptive pass rusher. I like that. This is a Seahawks team that wants to beat you with waves of pass rush. You've got DeMarcus Lawrence, you've got Uchenna Nwosu, you've got Jamie Sheriff, who played for this team. Well, didn't play much for this team, but he's currently listed as the edge 2 on this team. Derek Hall, I do like. I'm still waiting for him to piece it all together. A guy that I think has the tools. I think he can be a good pass rushing entity. We just have to see it from him a little bit more. He hasn't really broken out, I would say. I think that there are some things he can clean up. He's a good power rusher. He's got some speed. I'm waiting for it to happen with Derek Hall. He was another guy that they just rotated on and off the field with everybody else as part of that pass rushing wave, but had 34 pressures and 2 sacks. I think he's a good player, and that's your edge 2, 3, however you want to kind of dice this up. You got Jared Ivey, who's a big, heavy-handed edge rusher. There's a lot to get excited about here. I like this group quite a bit. You don't have that true standout number 1 on this defensive line that's going to be able to just wreak havoc and create a ton of pressure, in my opinion. But you've got waves of pass rush, and if Byron Murphy takes another leap, this could be one of the best defensive lines in the league because we know they can defend the run very well. Let's see if they can develop that pass rush a little bit more. The linebacker room is a little bit more cut and dry. There are not a lot of crazy takes here. Ernest Jones is the green dot, a really good move for this team. He was always underrated. When the Rams let him go after the 2023 season, never really made sense to me. I think he's one of the better blitzing linebackers in the league. He can really wreak havoc. He's fast. He's got good instincts. As a coverage linebacker, you don't love it, but you love what he does downhill. He's fast. He's aggressive. Really strong tackler. A very good run defender. It had 6 interceptions in 2025. I think his down-to-down coverage consistency could be a little bit better, but he's got ball skills. He's always around the play. I really like Ernest Jones. I think he's one of the more underappreciated linebackers in the league. And then you got Drake Thomas next to him, who is another one of these just late round gems that this Seahawks front office has found. He was really good for this team. He didn't start the first 3 games of the year. Week 4, he ends up starting, doesn't look back, has some really big moments for this team. I think he's a much more consistent coverage linebacker for this team from a down-to-down basis. I think he gives them a little bit more. He's a little bit of a undersized player at 6'2", 223. He does struggle to tackle. He missed 20 tackles last season. You want to see that get better, but I like the athletic profile. He gets downhill. A good number 1, number 2 linebacker there. And then, they've got some other depths here like Chris Paul Jr. I like. The only other player I'll mention is Tyrese Knight, who I loved coming out of UTEP. Good run defender, another great blitzer. He just is very inconsistent, was a pretty stiff mover. I think it's really held him back in coverage. But when he's been on the field, he's been a pretty impactful run defend linebacker for this team. So those are really the 3 guys I think you're going to see the most on this team. But I love this linebacker room. This is how I would build my linebacker room. I wouldn't go get these first-round crazy athletes with all these traits. Just go get guys that get the position, that are smart, they're instinctive. I think that's what the Seahawks have here. and it helps their run defense. All of these guys defend the run really well. The secondary is my favorite part of this team, though. Yes, there are questions in this secondary that we will talk about, but just a really fun group. And it starts with who I think is a top 5 corner in the league in Devon Witherspoon. I had Devon Witherspoon above Christian Gonzalez in my draft rankings. Hasn't aged the best, but I wouldn't say it's aged poorly. Devon Witherspoon just got an absolute bag from this team to become the highest paid corner ever for now. What more do you want to see from Devon Witherspoon? Not only is he an awesome coverage defender where he had 8 pass breakups and interception, I think that the number of receptions he allowed could come down a little bit. He allowed 60 receptions on 78 targets. I'd like to see that reception percentage come down to around like 60%, which is where it was in his rookie season, where he was awesome. But I will give Witherspoon the benefit of the doubt and that he does play about 50% of his snaps as a nickel corner. And they want him to play as a nickel corner because he's one of the best run defending defensive backs in the league. He is aggressive. He plays physical downhill, can be a really good blitz threat. We saw that in the Super Bowl for this team. I love Devon Witherspoon. I think he's one of the best corners in football. He's super athletic. He's got fluid hips. You can move him around your formation. You love that about Devon Witherspoon. Now, they are looking for that CB2 right now. Josh Jobe is currently listed as the CB2 here. That's interesting to me. Like, again, Tariq Woolen was very frustrating for this team at times, but I still probably would have kept him. Josh Jobe is a fine player again, and an impactful run defender. Coverage-wise, like he allowed 51% when targeted, 540 yards. He's not a crazy athlete. He does get beat vertically at times. He gave up some really big plays. But overall, I think your CB2 could be worse. I don't dislike Josh Jobe. You draft Julian Neal in the 3rd round. I loved Julian Neal. I thought he was athletic. I thought he was physical. I thought he checked a lot of boxes there. You have Nehemiah Pritchett, who was undersized coming out of Auburn, a guy that I think probably profiles as nickel depth. He played 8% of this team's snaps last year, was not particularly good. The other one is Terrion Arnold, and I'm not going to go into the whole Terrion Arnold conversation. Terrion Arnold is he's a very volatile corner, which they were able to make work with Tariq Woolen. Terrion Arnold has some other issues right now that we're not going to go into, like I said. He's just been just not the coverage player you were expecting. Very grabby. He's got 16 penalties over the first 2 years of his career. He missed a good portion of 2025, played in just 300 snaps. And in coverage, he just has given up some massive plays. He's overly aggressive. You hope that he can kind of work here with Mike McDonald. Not really expecting it. But yeah, that's kind of your cornerback room. Andre Fuller from Toledo, I do really like too, as just a big physical press jam corner, which this team doesn't play a lot of man, but I think he would be a good option if they want to do that. In terms of your nickel room, Nickemmanwori is going to be this team's like base. They play base nickel a lot. Man, Nickemmanwori was so good as a rookie, and I was always pretty high on Emmanwori. I didn't think that the athlete that he tested as really checked out. I think it led to him being overrated in some circles and underrated in others. He's such a good run defender. Like, I thought the diagnostics as a run defender really took a step up from where he was in South Carolina. He had some big plays on the ball. You could play him in the box where he played 300 snaps. He played 400 snaps in the slot. They just were able to move him around because he's 227 pounds. He's a freak athlete, defends the run. He's got good coverage instincts. Not really a negative thing to say about Nickemmanwori. I think the coverage consistency could get a little bit better. I think that he could get a little bit, you'd like to see him play a little bit more in that, like improve the zone instincts. That's kind of it. I like that. And then you got Noah Igbenogany. I think that's a perfectly fine backup slot option. I like that. The safety room, another area I do worry about. You lose Kobe Bryant. You're going to Ty Okada, who played well for this team when he was on the field. Another undrafted free agent FCS pickup for this team that was really good. He's 27 years old. He played 57% of this team's snaps. He is defended the run well, tackled well, had 49 tackles, 16 run stops. A guy that they're going to play primarily as this team's free safety. I don't know. I don't think he's going to be a bad player. Do I think he's going to elevate the floor of this team? Probably not, or elevate the ceiling, I should say. He'll elevate the floor. Probably not, but it certainly could be worse. I have my eyes on Bud Clark, who I really, really like as a developmental option here. He's got ball skills. He's super fast. He's rangy. You could play him in the slot, free safety, close to the ball. Like, I think he could do all of it and be really impactful. And then you got Julian Love as well, who is a really good safety. He missed time last year due to injury, but a guy that when he's been on the field has consistently been one of the more underappreciated players. He's really sound in coverage, allowed just 83 yards on 21 targets last year, 2 interceptions, 4 pass breakups. He defends the run. Again, you got to be able to defend the run in Mike Macdonald's defense. Julian Love helps them do that. Outside of that, I don't love the safety room, but it rounds out. I think nickemmanwori will play some safety as well here, but it rounds out what is one of the best safety and overall defenses in the league. So much to love about this group. Just a ridiculous amount of talent from top to bottom. And as we look towards the schedule, I mean, it's hard because I think they're going to be favorites in 15 of their games. Like, this team is so talented. Like, you just look up and down their schedule. Like, there's some winnable games all over the place. Like, you get a pretty easy matchup against the NFC East where I think you're better than at least 3 of those teams. And I think you can beat Philly, even though that is a road game. That's going to be a tough matchup. But in your own division, you got to play Arizona twice. You got to play San Francisco twice, who they have a bunch of problems. And then you get the Rams. We'll talk about the Rams tomorrow. You get Washington, you get the Raiders, you get some other easy Carolina, who got a first place schedule. Yeah, the Rams games are going to be really hard. Those games are going to be awesome. The Bears game's going to be tough. The Eagles game will be tough. The Broncos game on the road Thursday night, that could be a tough one. I don't really see them having this crazy fall from grace. I think the coaching staff is elite. I think you've got a very good quarterback. You've got weapons galore. Your defense alone is going to be able to win you 5 games by itself. And if you can win these games 17-13, it doesn't really matter. I think the defense is that good. I'm still picking the Seahawks to win 13 games this year. I think they go 13-4 and we'll be right back in the mix for the NFC title. But I'd love to hear from you guys, Seahawks fans. Do you think I'm too high? Do you think I'm too low? Leave a like on this video, subscribe if you are new, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Adios.